Okay, so I want to talk about what it's like to date as a sub-5 man. And with credit to Gerbert's Void, No Roads Left, and even Marshall Brockway, who've all fairly recently made videos that were relevant to the subject. So I just want to acknowledge credit where credit's due. Look, I'm not looking for a reply video. I'm not looking for a thumbs up or anything. I'm just being polite, okay? Now, I'm a sub-5 guy who has dated a few women, and let me describe what the relationships are like, because I think this is pretty typical with its own quirks based on my own personal personality and my circumstances. Okay, the women I've slept with, the first time we sleep together, it seemed like they were there to enjoy it, but over time, it gets less and less and less. And if a woman sleeps with you and you're a sub-5, she's not doing it because she enjoys intercourse. Even though she might enjoy it when it happens. She's doing it because she wants something from you. And not necessarily explicitly, like, hey, take me on a vacation and I'll have sex with you, right? I'm not talking like that. Though, I can give an example of a situation that seemed to be transactional. It seemed to be more like dog treats. If they think you're on the right course, somehow they'll feed you a treat. Right? Maybe they want something else from you that's not your beauty, so you don't have it. Right? They'll have intercourse with Chad, the attractive man, because he's attractive. They'll do it for the pleasure of the act in itself. Where with you, even if they enjoy it, they're not doing it because they enjoy it. They're doing it because they want something. Now I'm going to give a couple examples. There was someone who I dated, on again, off again, and there was something about her that made me want to try again and again, right? And the last time I tried, first date was pretty exciting. And the second date, she said she didn't want to have intercourse with me unless I was going to have her be my girlfriend, like official, that sort of thing. Like, she didn't say Facebook official, but that concept, like, make it Facebook official. And I was happy just quietly, casually, just having a Netflix and chill relationship. I didn't want to rush into anything. Just let it go where it's going to go organically. And I said, okay, if you don't want to have sex with me, I'll respect your boundary. Okay. Now, we were in the middle of a date at her place. I was drinking. We were watching a movie. So I figured, I'm just going to enjoy the rest of the evening. I'm going to just watch the movie, enjoy the evening, and go to bed. We ended up going to bed. And then she came on to me in bed, which, okay, whatever. I wasn't going to refuse that. I wanted that. It's kind of confusing. And I do recall that previous encounters on date night, she'd be like, I don't want to do this. I'm like, okay, we don't have to do it. And then she'd come on to me anyways. Now, that may be because this person, like many of the others, had an unfortunate trauma where someone forced themselves upon her. And so she says, I don't want to do this. And I say, okay, that's fine. Either she's looking for validation of her boundary, and then later on comes on to me, and that's my reward for respecting her boundary. Or she was expecting me to transgress the boundary, which I wasn't going to do. Okay, no means no. There's no way I'm gonna push past a no like that. But in any case, this person also wanted me to meet the family, and then briefly talked about places to get married. I'm like, whoa, this is too fast. Like, I'm not ready for any of this. Meeting the family shows serious intention. And after making that boundary clear, she withdrew affection and decided that I was gross. Didn't want me touching her, disgusted by my touching her, and very soon after broke it off with me, which, whatever, it's fine. I wasn't offended. Did I feel a slight sting of rejection? Yeah, but it went away, right? And I better off for things to end early than for things to get moving somewhere and then end really badly, right? So clean break. I like that. I respect that. And this person could want whatever they wanted, right? Obviously, she wanted something. She wanted to be partnered with someone, she wanted to be seen as an asset, to be proud of, to be cherished, to, show off to the friends, the friend group gathering, show it off to the family, that type of thing. That mattered to her, and I wasn't interested in doing that. So obviously, Netflix and chill, that's something that Chad can do. Sub 5, shot dudes like me, no. Any long-term relationship where I just try to have intercourse with my partner. When we've had intercourse before, I was gross. Like, no, don't touch me. I'm not in the mood. Now, part of it's because they didn't find me attractive, but also part because they didn't understand themselves. Like, there's two ways to have attraction, right? To be aroused. There's spontaneous arousal that comes from just looking at someone and wanting to get with them, and then there's responsive arousal, which comes from interacting, like foreplay. Now that could start with like a date when, whatever, something like walks on the beach or candlelit dinner or whatever, going bowling, game night or whatever, these things, right? But it also could be just, it begins with that and then it proceeds to the kissing, the groping, the caressing, all these things, right, that lead to intercourse. But they don't want to even try that because they don't find you attractive to begin with. So, like, yeah, they do experience responsive desire. And if Chad catches her on an off day and tries to get with her, then she'll probably get with him. But not with you, because you're unattractive, unfortunately, in our present culture, okay? And this brings me to Gerber's Void. We talked about there are enclaves of old style cultures here in America where you have a community that helps facilitate the pairing of people, right? That's something people used to do. Heck, back in like that, when I was younger, we used to talk about, hey, can you hook me up with so-and-so? Can you arrange for me to meet so-and-so? Whatever. People, you'd use their social network to arrange to meet people. And, old culture, that was more common even 50, 100 years ago. But there's still pockets in America, they're the ones who are having all the babies, right? It's not, mating and pair bonding was not a marketplace, strictly a marketplace activity. There was a community that helped facilitate it, of common value, of common language, common customs, all that, right? And without that, the sub 5 guy doesn't have stand a chance. He doesn't have stand a chance of having a relationship with somebody who actually has enthusiastic appreciation of him. It's not going to happen. I've lived it. I've lived my whole life. And if I ever date again, believe me, part of me hopes that I might roll a nat 20 on dating, which ain't gonna, come on, ain't gonna happen, right? If let's say that seduction, I have to roll a 16 or higher. Right, we're talking D&D here, but I have a -3 to charisma, which means that you have to roll a 19 on the die, hit that 16 target number to have a gesturing relationship where I have to perform and reach certain milestones to have any kind of affection shown to me. Or I have to roll a nat 20. And sure, people say, yeah, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, but if you're a sub 5, you miss 99% of the shots you do take. And since you're ugly, all right, you don't get to take a lot of shots. And so there you are. If you happen to pair up with someone, they're not going to like you. You're just a utility to them. And it sucks. Now, I still miss the possibility of having a sexual relationship with someone. It should be easy now. Now that I'm old. I've had a vasectomy, right? I don't even know why I even got a vasectomy because no one wants to share my bed, but I did, right? And I could get together with postmenopausal women, but they're still going to think I'm chopped and ugly, even though it's one thing to look at a guy thinking well, I'm not gonna mate with him because he has bad genes. I don't want to have deformed children, but you're not gonna have deformed children because you're postmenopausal, so that should be off the table. That concern should be off the table. Well, it's not. It's not. The same standard still applies. If you're ugly, then you're still just a utility. Now, there are decent women out there. There's a few, but there aren't that many, okay? Most people are assimilated to the prevailing cultural norm. The prevailing cultural norm is no culture. It's just a meat market. And in fact, I would go so far as to say that if a woman doesn't conform to the current zeitgeist, right, which is the sexual meat market, she may well be mentally ill. And in fact, in my experience, the women I've shared a bed with, they're all mentally ill. That's not saying that as a pejorative. I'm not putting down mental illness. In fact, you might say us of sub 5 guys, we could probably get a job, a clinical job, going to like mental hospitals. They have an inpatient wing for the women, and when they're ready to be discharged, we get to interview them. And if they say, "So, did you find that guy attractive?" She says, "Yeah, I kind of like to have a date with him." Like, okay, you're not being released then. Because if they find me attractive, obviously they're not better yet. They're still mentally ill. I truly think there could be a market for something like this. I don't know how to put it together. I would need to find some sort of psychologist who could write up a paper, who could at least subscribe to my theory on this, and then we could put forward it. Like probably $50 an hour, I could go around to mental health units, interview the women who are preparing to be released from them, and then if they find me attractive, they're still sick. They should stay. I'm not advocating, make it very clear, forcibly depriving people of liberty, but like the recommendation is for them to stay. That's what I'm saying. Like, we don't think you're well yet. If you want to leave AMA, that's your business. But like, we don't think you're well yet, and we need you to stay until you find him unattractive. I really think there might be a market for that. Is that absurd? Yeah, but so is the world we live in right now. The meat manning market is absurd too. And that's all I gotta say. Thanks for watching my video. Bye-bye.